Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. Just finished talking up some UFC, so if you want to check that out, go to patreon.com/southboundsports and sign up. We had a big boom in downloads, so thank you. Let's keep that going. Before we get into the football stuff for my high tempo, I want to talk about the NHL Stadium series, or whatever they call it. They have too many outdoor series. Like, just have an outdoor game and just call it the same thing. I don't know why they need different branding. The Hurricanes played the Capitals on Saturday in Raleigh down here, and I had to travel, so I wasn't able to go to that game. But I went to the stadium last night to see NC State kick off against UNC. I guess not really kick off, whatever. It's the end of the year for their club hockey team. And same stadium, checked it out. The one thing that really annoyed me, the NHL took over parking instead of letting NC State football do it, right? So I don't know.
Get that gate.
I don't know how many people have been to games. Like, I always talk about like tips and stuff because I go to a lot of events and things that are just random. The amount of people for a hockey game is different than a football game, right? They opened it up last night for free. Tickets were free. I want to say the stadium holds like 58-something thousand, maybe 58, 57. It was between a third and a half full, which probably would have been about a sellout PNC arena. I think PNC holds about like 20,000. So I don't know how many cities where people are listening from have two arenas that are right beside each other. The football field there's a state fairground, so there's a lot of parking everywhere. Then there is the football field, and then the hockey arena, PNC, is right across the parking lot. There's also a indoor training facility for NC State football that was built that took up a bunch of parking. And now they have like apartments or something on the road turning in that also used to be a bunch of land for parking. So they've lost parking over the years for football games. Shouldn't have mattered, though, because they had the outside fairground parking lot for Ubers only. Because I thought, they originally announced that, I think for NHL games, the parking there is $40, which to me is absurd, right? Because you're going to a free hockey game, you're going to pay $40. Then they must have got scared from the backlash of people complaining about it, that they dropped it to 10, and then they were supposed to drop it to 8, but it was cashless, so I didn't bring cash with me. So I don't know. I honestly didn't look what they charged, but it was either between 10 and 8. I don't think I paid 40. But because they closed the extra lots, they only had one lane going in on both sides. The game started at 7. And this is a lot of information, but I think it's good for people to hear. Like, they're like, hey, how come things don't happen? Hey, why don't they have like other events? It's because of shit like this. So they only had one parking lane open on each side of the stadium. When there's like, it's like a 3-lane highway or 2 or 4. Like, I don't even know what it is, but typically, like, there's gates. They had the ones up in like the wooded lots closed. So everyone had to go all the way down to the stadium and then drive through people tailgating, which I assume were there all day because they had an alumni game for the Hurricanes at like 4. And of course, like, when people were working, like I was working, like, you can't get over there till after work. So I left about 5:30 or so. And I think I got into the stadium lot at like 6 till I drove over there. And then it took me 10 minutes to get parked. So people that I was meeting there to watch the game with, they left at about 6:30, thinking like, oh, it took me 10 minutes to get parked. They didn't get into the game, Matt, until 8 o'clock.
Holy cow.
And that's coming from NC State campus or whatever. They missed about half the second period or whatever. Like, it was insane because having only the front lots open by the football stadium, the more people that filled in, you had to drive through all of it. And everyone's not, like, they didn't have enough people directing traffic. They had 3 people. And so I heard a lot of people complaining. Apparently on Saturday, people could prepay for the $40 parking, and they didn't check. So once that inside lot was full, because that game was like basically sold out, so you almost need the fairground parking, I think, because the apartments took up the rest of the indoor training facility or whatever. So they closed the big lot because it sold out, and people that had prepaid for parking, they were so overwhelmed that they just let anyone park inside the prepaid lot, and so now people are asking for refunds. And I don't know how the NHL is going to handle it, because I would assume once that lot was full, anyone outside, like that parked on the state fairgrounds, had to be able to park there for free. You just had to walk like a mile or whatever it is. And some of them aren't even that long of a walk. Like, I could have parked right across, because my plan was go down the state fairgrounds, drive down. There's like an equestrian thing there. You could drive all the way down and then walk right across the road, but they had police cars blocking it off. I would assume if the other lot gets full, then they're going to have to call the cops and say, like, yo, let people park there. I don't even know who, like, it's the state-owned, right? But I don't know if they had to do that last night, because I was already in, and I just know that I felt bad for other fans, because you're trying to expose them to college hockey. I got in, like I said, about 6:10. It was like 50 minutes before the game. Hit up the concession because I wanted to buy some merch to support the team, right? So I was able to do that. Concessions overwhelmed within 5 minutes, Matt. They were sold out of all food except for popcorn and candy and soda. So, like, I don't know how many people they thought they were going to be there, but I don't think they expected that much. There was a fight immediately in the crowd. There were 2 goals within the first minute, and it was basically half of the game was at least student section, right? Because if you're a kid, you can just walk down from the apartment, take the bus to the apartments there, walk down for free while you're drinking beers. They had beers in the stadium. I don't know if they were selling beer at the stadium because I didn't check. But there were tons of cans of beers in the stadium because they probably weren't checking that either, right? They didn't have wands. They just walked you in. So if I would have had 4 beers in my pocket or something, I probably could have walked in.
Although that might have backfired if they patted you down and like, oh, these are my emergency beers.
Well, I did see
them before you go in.
One guy leaving. Security said, "Hey, toss that beer out." And he took the beer off a guy walking out and threw it in the garbage. And the guy's like, "I'm going to my car where I have a cooler full of beers." "Thanks, buddy." Like, he just kept walking. And the security just shook his head. But I'm like, all right, well, where's he walking out with the beer? And why would it be bad for him to walk out there if you know it's tailgating? But maybe they didn't sell it. Maybe they just caught him having one and they were like, nah, toss it. I don't know. But that's my thing. That's my very long intro. It's have an event, run it smooth. NHL, how many dumb ideas and things can you do? Why would you ruin an event for hockey? Like, there weren't that many people in the stadium. I don't know how long the alumni game was, but like I said, I was expecting it to be played a little bit because I figured if they played like a full game with intermissions or whatever, maybe they didn't have the intermissions, that it would have been ending when I got there. Like, there would have been some time in the third, but no one was even there. No one was on the ice. It had already been Zamboni'd. So I was like, how short was that first game? And I walked all the way down. I'll put a picture up on our Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But go to southboundsports.com and you can find all our accounts or whatever. I walked all the way down and got first row. And the crowd was still coming in going up to the third period, Matt. Because people had just gotten parked and they were walking all the way up. And so the upper deck started to fill in as the third period started. That's how, like, packed it was getting.
Wow.
But I was like, too late. Too late. You could have had all these people in. And I know you ran out of concessions or whatever, but come on, give me a break, man.
But was that because the NHL game was first?
No, I don't think. I think it was just because they only had one lane open for parking. So people were sitting based on the people I went with, they said that they sat on the highway for like a half hour before even getting close to the stadium. Because if you only have one entrance open, there's like 4 entrances there. But they had the other ones closed off, so you had to go all the way to the stadium to the first entrance. Typically, as it fills up, I think on football, like they move it back to the next entrance, right? Or there's people letting people in, and then you're just paying like, hey, I'm going to park the furthest lot, right? Because like I'm trying to think like Penn State lot, think about it, where you're coming up and like some fields are like $10 and you have to park like a bazillion miles away, and you just see like this erector set in the distance, and you're like, is that where I'm going? But if you're lucky, you could just keep driving through all the cow fields, and then you're right up by the stadium, right? And you pay like $50 or whatever it is, or maybe you have a pass. But there are different gates to get in. They were like, no, we're only going to open the one and make people just drive right through while there are people playing cornhole everywhere. And like I got pretty close parking to the front, thank God, just because people were tailgating there. They were up on the bed of a couple trucks, and I thought, this is a spot. I'm going to pull in right beside them. It's like, I don't care. Like, I know they're not going to damage my car. So then, because it's like I parked right by the indoor fit training facility. But people were like, everyone was going down, because once you go in, you have to go past it and drive all the way down. It's hard to explain. But like you go into the stadium and then you're immediately hooking a right and then driving down alongside the road you just were stuck at. Just creating more traffic. So I don't know what they could have done, but like why not hire NC State's thing? Or I know NC State was like promoting the event or whatever. Just let them handle it. They probably would have did it for cheap or free, right? But the NHL was trying to get money from it, I guess. I don't know. They did it as like a favor, so I don't want to like jam the NHL. Because they probably could have folded up the rink or whatever. I don't think they've expected that many people, though. Because it's not a D1 hockey game. That was a club game. But I think it shows interest in the sport. And like I said, I've heard rumblings about people saying, well, maybe the North Carolina teams would make D1. And I was looking up some of the revenues because everyone keeps saying, oh, well, college hockey isn't profitable. Boston University, like the most recent I could find, I don't know when this is from, a couple of years ago, like 2018, 2020, they were making close to like $8 million a year on hockey. Most teams made between like 3 and 4 million. And I have a hard time believing that you're going to be spending that much more, right? If you're able to have a club hockey team that's run on like donations, how would you not be able to get it? And like, let's be honest, like, is Boston University hockey even really on TV? Like the Big Ten has been making more money because they put the games on TV. And I think a lot of these universities, like Ohio State, their 1 year they reported that they made less than $1 million. I bet they're cooking the books to like write off a bunch of their profits just by saying like, well, we're doing a stadium project, so that's negative $3 million, right? Like just how they do football.
Wow.
I'm throwing it out there. How could Ohio State, like, unless you have 0 fans in the stands, let's be real. Michigan and Ohio State are 2 of the biggest brands in the entire country. Two of the top 5 programs. They should be at least making near the top of hockey revenue.
Now, did they
just
offer
on size alone
free skating afterward
for that game? No, apparently they did have free skating on Sunday and Friday for season ticket holders, which I thought would have been cool, but like it was all NHL stuff, so it wasn't like they were letting like NC State people down. I was hoping that they opened up the field, because if you watch a game on Saturday, some people might listen to this might have watched it. They had crowds and they had like risers down below where you could be down on the field. They had it tarped off. That was still tarped off, just no one was allowed down there because they only had one security guy. And I thought, hopefully he has his watch on because this guy's just making laps, man. Like I wonder how many steps he got in, because he's just making a circle back and forth. But that's my thoughts on it. I think obviously college hockey can be successful. Obviously, they're looking at TV deals that include streaming for other sports. I think a lot more people would watch hockey compared to like tennis and stuff. Look at the TV ratings, like who draws more. If you're not a big name in tennis, people aren't watching. I think a lot of people are gonna would watch like bigger hockey programs, which could get some of the ACC programs a way out of the ACC. But that's just me. Some schools like UNC and NC State, if they're able to put together 10,000 people at a hockey game, you can't tell me that they wouldn't make money. It just would be impossible not to.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, hey, here's 10,000 people and we're putting in $10 tickets, that's $100,000, Matt, per game. Does it cost $100,000 to run? I doubt it. And that's $10. That's generous. Like, that's what the donation is at the other game. And it was pretty packed. I think students were $5 or something. So you're making between however many. I don't know how many the other stadium held. Only like a couple thousand. But like last night, it was definitely over 10,000 people. And maybe it would only be the local games, but typically in football, they make all their money from one of the bigger games anyway, right? If it's going to be the rivalry game, you just double the ticket price.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people are underestimating it because TVs need inventory. Summer's like basically baseball and softball for college. So like the ACC network or whatever, what are they broadcasting after basketball or like around the same time, like in the winter basketball? Yeah, there's tons of basketball on, but hockey's like a good other sport that if they could figure out a way to mix and match the schedule, it does get viewers, like people watch it. So it's another B plan. And maybe it's kind of like, what was it? What we were watching last year, we're like, is it women's softball where like their games are like on at 3 in the afternoon or something weird? Yeah. So it's like, hey, why don't you do that with hockey? Right? Have it be a precursor into college basketball if you think that they're not getting as many people, but at least it's programming that you can pay for. That would be better than, hey, let's watch highlights of what Jim Valvano running around the court again for the millionth time on the ACC network. That's just me, though. Did you watch any of the hockey stuff this weekend?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I watched it on TV. It looked awesome. The Canes won, and they played really well. So I think down here it's different because everyone keeps saying hockey's not going to work, hockey's not going to work. During that game, they said Carolina's 10th in attendance.
Now, was there, did you notice any issue with the ice?
No.
Being in Raleigh?
No, well, they showed a highlight. They actually freeze it up to 3 inches to prevent it from going. So, like, the new system that they had, they said can go up to, like, whatever warmer degrees because they played a game in LA a couple years ago. So, like, I think the ice was pretty much there. Plus, it was at night. It was 50 degrees anyway. So, it wasn't like it was too much warmer.
Yeah.
Then, like, if it was like a 75-degree day, I was more worried about, like, the rain. Because if it starts raining, you're not going to keep the ice, right? I don't know how you would be able to do it, but maybe they've had them outdoors like that before. I honestly don't know. But that was one of the things I was worried about is like, hey, if we get weird weather, is it going to affect it? But it really didn't. So that was cool for me. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think everything worked out. I don't know about the game on Saturday night. I think it was colder for them. I just wasn't here to know what temperature it was. All right. You want to talk about USFL for your high tempo?
Well, a little bit, yeah. Because apparently...
Well, let's wait. Let's wait until we do XFL because we're kind of long.
All right.
Did you watch any games for the XFL this weekend? Because I was traveling, so I didn't get to. My opening was hockey, so I'll let you go.
Yeah, I caught a good bit of the games over the weekend. Seeing Josh Gordon make his return to pro football with the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Really? Why is he out of the NFL? Just off the field stuff?
Because he couldn't stop smoking pot.
I honestly didn't know he was kicked out and he was still around. I thought he was like in jail.
No, I don't think it was necessarily jail. I just think like he just kept consistently failing all of his drug tests and got kicked. Like just kept being under suspension from the NFL. So now I'm guessing in the XFL he can still just smoke as much pot as he wants and can play football.
So what's your favorite team this year?
I still like the Houston Roughnecks, but Gene Jones isn't the coach of them anymore. It's Wade Phillips. But Gene Jones is the coordinator of the Sea Dragons, so I was following them.
Okay, because I don't think my boy Pep, he's the coach of DC anymore, is he? That's the only game that I took a look at and I saw that they won. But I wasn't sure about the other ones. It's hard because I think the XFL too, they're not getting the promotion, right?
I don't understand why they're not. Do they not have any money invested into promotion? Do they just think that we're just going to watch? Because, I was asking a couple people at work today, and they're like, I didn't even realize that the XFL started. Like, I thought that it was delayed.
Well, see, they did have 2 games this week on ABC. I can't find the actual numbers. Next week is when it goes into purgatory, where all the games are on FX or ESPN. And then after that, like, it gets pushed down to FX or ESPN2. And then they're not even, like, promoted after, like, the first week. So I don't know if ESPN has them as a flex, where they're like, we're going to just list them at the lower channels, and if there are pulling ratings, we keep them going. But it's almost like they negotiated 1 week on ABC, and then that was it. Like, I don't know how you're going to keep promoting that. It would almost be like better for them to negotiate it so that they were all on regular ESPN and not getting shoved every week. Because I can see some people watching and then next week casually saying that, oh, it's not on ABC, I'm not going to look elsewhere for it. I'm just going to assume it's over, right? Like one big thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find anything. It's crazy. Any big name players that you think listeners would know, other than Josh Gordon, that you saw playing?
For those H2P people, there's old Ben DiNucci. He was quarterbacking for the Sea Dragons.
And everyone thought the pick guys were all NFL QBs. QBU.
Playing professional football in the XFL. I was surprised that Jordan Tiamo, like he was in the XFL, and then he got picked up in the NFL, and now he's back in the XFL.
I just saw a highlight from him. I was going to just play it, but I don't even know if I have sound on, so I don't want to get our stream taken down or whatever. Oh, here's my remote. Yeah, back for what? DC now. Perfect.
Yeah.
And they took down your Seattle team first weekend. Who's their coach? It's Jim Haslett? Yeah.
IUP man.
They're all over the place, IUP guys, right?
That's right.
Losing Super Bowls, losing opening week XFL.
Your buddy Big Game Bob won his game.
I'm still waiting for him to go to Florida State, Matt.
He is until he isn't.
Actually, you know what would be the craziest timeline? Is if Kirk Ferentz finally retired, Bob Stoops took over, but then he kept Brian Ferentz as the OC. Because Stoops played at Iowa. I think they did, right?
No, what if Brian Ferentz just goes off this year, just scoring like 70 points a game, running the eye.
No, watch him score exactly 25 points. Like, he's only interested in getting his bonus. So, like, they're, like, just running the clock out even though they're losing. People will be like, they're exactly getting 25 points every week. It's insane. Because that's all he needs. It's like a low bar. Like, you could probably say, hey, you're going to get 25 points a week, but you're playing on 1-minute quarters on Madden. And you're like, shit. He's like, 25? Like, what does that equal? Every 15 minutes I score a touchdown? Like, that's not bad. That's not bad at all, guys.
I can do that. One long, consuming drive in the first quarter. One long, consuming drive in the second.
He's like, the defensive touchdown in there, and look, I'm already there. I just need one more. I don't even need a touchdown for the last one. You just need a field goal or whatever it is. I guess no.
The special teams capitalize.
Yeah, you get right in there. Just go for 2. That'd be even funnier if he like exactly was landing on 25. He's like, we're gonna go for 2.
Like, taking his shirt off.
Because wasn't it like Woody Hayes? He's like, why'd you go for 2? He's like, I couldn't go for 3. It'd be like, I needed to get my quota, 25 points. I had to go for 2. And then they're like,
the XFL did have. I like the way that their rules were set up for the extra points.
Well, they have the 3 options, right?
They have the 3 options, but then they also, for the kickoff, had the option of you could set it up for a 4th and 15.
And to go on instead of an onside, right?
Yeah, so like in those 4th down conversions, like it was in the 4th. Like you could do it in the 4th quarter.
And what were the 3? What were the 3 options for extra points? Because I don't remember.
It was 1 point from the 3, like a regular extra point spot.
Was it from like the 1?
I thought it was the 3.
Oh, maybe you're right.
It was like 3, 5, and 10, I think.
But it's 1, 2, and 3 points?
Yeah, like
okay,
2 points from the 5, 3 points from the 10.
That's how they did it last time. But can you kick it, or you have to go for it every time?
I want to say you go for it.
Okay, that's why I think I might have been confused. I was thinking that they could just take it from the 1 and get the easy, like, give me extra point, or you could go. But your options make more sense. Because isn't it like the 2.5 or 3? Is it the 3? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's the 3. But to do it that way, if you're the Eagles, you just push it in every time and don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's true. So it is probably better that it's back a little bit. Man. We'll have to see, because I'm looking at the schedule now. I still can't find the XFL opening weekend, but it's like, what was the attendance is what I'm wondering. And what are the ticket prices, too? Because like I talked about the game last night, like I would assume that hockey game is free other than parking, had a bigger crowd than what the XFL had.
But they showed the crowd, and it was funny because the DC game was almost put on hold because fans were throwing lemons onto the field because they wouldn't let them make a beer snake.
Yeah, where were they getting lemons, Matt?
From their fresh squeezed lemonade.
Are you serious? That's where they're getting them?
That's what my guess would be.
Because I want to say, I've been to some concerts around DC, and that is a thing that they have. Carts of fresh squeezed lemonade you can get. I haven't seen that in Raleigh.
Like $23 for a lemonade. They're in DC. They're like, well, we can't make our beer snake. Well, then bully to you. Just fired a lemon out on the field.
I don't remember the cost, but I will say if it's completely hot and you're completely drunk, you're dehydrated, you'll pay for that lemonade, Matt.
But your buddy, the Saints defensive coordinator that was on Bountygate, he's DC's defensive coordinator.
Perfect for my team, Matt. Just like in my fantasy world, like guys that were like accused of steroids and stuff. That's how I like my defensive coordinators accused of Bountygates too. Because
it was like everyone they tried the beer snake, it got taken down. Everyone threw lemons, and then they had a pick six. So Perfect. It was like all like within the natural sequence of stuff.
You think June Jones called that pick six? He said, "Run the pick six play."
Yeah, run the pick. Yeah, run that one.
Yeah. I don't know. People are like really negative about the XFL for some reason. I don't get it.
Well, probably because they don't even know it exists. Like, it's insane. Like, I give kudos to The Rock because he, like, showed up to every game. They had, like, the interviews with him at all 4 opening games. So, like, obviously, they're not just throwing a bunch of money at this and saying, well, I hope this works. Like, they're definitely, like, showing that they're active in this process to see it succeed. And I think that's going to be one of the long-term factors of actually seeing, like, what's drawing people to the stadium.
There's an article about Hines Ward potentially being the first Asian head coach in pro football history, and they brought out that the Raleigh-Durham had their own professional football team called the Skyhawks in 1991 for something called the World League. So no, Hines Ward, it doesn't count. How weird is that? That I never even heard of the World League, and if Raleigh has a team back then, put them in the XFL, I'd go. I would 100% go. Because I would assume traffic would be fixed out. One of the ones that
was competing during the Dolphins dynasty years in the 70s.
Really? I thought you were going to say it was due to the strike year. Because wasn't that in the 90s with...
Because Larry Zonka was one of the guys that they were in the bidding war with. And he took money and went to the World League.
Bring it back then. And that's what I want. I want Raleigh to have a professional pro football team.
Yeah, they could be the nerds. Just a bunch of tech guys.
How rude, Matt. They had a Skyhawk team right here. I'm looking it up. They only were there for 1 year. And they went 0-10. Perfect. You can only go up from there. I did see randomly someone sent me a thing. It was like about back in the early days about when they were trying to get the Carolina Panthers, and they picked Charlotte because they thought that having three big time college football programs in the area was going to be hard to compete against. And I was like, what 3 were big time? Like, they calling Duke the third big time program? Because I don't think that's true. Like, I could see NC State and UNC back in like the 90s, but who's the third team, Matt?
Let's roll this. Let's run this back. If Brian Ferentz is watching the XFL this weekend, there was only one team out of the 8 that scored over 25 points. So he has to be like, damn, back to the drawing board.
See, Bob Stoops. That's what I'm saying. Bob Stoops will come in after coaching in the XFL saying, we only averaged 18 points a game. Brian Ferentz has been averaging 25. We got to keep him. Because think about it. If Bob came back, because everyone's like, he's going to go to Florida State. He's going to go back to Oklahoma. He's going to go here or there. If he went to Iowa in an expanded Big Ten, and then he's just like, yeah, we're going to make the playoffs, I think it's a doable. I don't know exactly this scenario, but I think that that's something that they could get done. Because the Big Ten pushed back their scheduling. This is a random insight that I probably would have forgot to bring up. So they pushed back the Big Ten announcement. They were supposed to have the schedule set this week or so. Ohio State's AD said that they're going to announce it in like November or something weird. Which makes me think that they're waiting to see what the SEC TV is like, their TV deal, because I've heard a rumor that the SEC is strongly considering only having one rival. And then you would play one rival each year, and then you would rotate the other team split in half, which would be what? A 9-game schedule. Or no, it'd only be, would it be 1-8-8? Or no, it'd be 7-7? Would it be an 8-game schedule? No, I'm sounding like an idiot. Yeah, because you'd need 14, right? So you'd only need whatever it would be. Look it up. Try to do the math, because I'm not going to do it. But the 3-game schedule, or the 3 permanent rivals, would get you 6-6 games, I thought, for the other teams. There's a way that you can do it that you only keep one permanent rival. And I think you have to play less conference games. So the Big Ten, I think, is waiting to see if SEC does that. Because if you play your one permanent rival and then 7 other teams, that's 8 games, right? Then you play the other 7 the next year, that's 14. Your rival and you, that should be 16, right? So they can keep the 8-game schedule.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the 3 and 6 and 6 like the Big Ten was thinking of doing. I think that's it, right? That's a 9-game schedule. 6 and 6 is 12. 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 16. So if the SEC does that, I think that's better for the Big Ten. Let Michigan and Ohio State play, and then divvy up the rest of the Lockies, and I won't care. Don't make us play a jacked up 3 rival schedule. That's just insane. Because and that's why I brought it up, because Iowa, if they can somehow get Nebraska as their one permanent rival, why couldn't Bob Stoops somehow make it, right? You're competing against the best. The rival that they would have possibly Minnesota and Wisconsin. You'd have Penn State, probably, and Michigan State. Not the best, but whatever. USC and UCLA. And then Maryland, Rutgers. Indiana, Purdue. Illinois, Northwestern. Who else am I forgetting? That's pretty much it, right? I'm probably forgetting someone, and they're sitting there saying, "What an idiot, why are you forgetting us?" But I think that's most of the Big Ten teams that I care about. I don't care about any of them, actually. Just Michigan. Screw the rest of them. They're jerks. But I think that would work. Then you don't have to worry about the 9th game. You can open it up and play another non-conference game that really doesn't matter at that point. Michigan can play Notre Dame, or Notre Dame will back out. And then we'll end up playing Arkansas, so we'll back out because Arkansas sucks. I saw an Arkansas guy write an article about how Michigan and Ohio State are dicks. And I'm like, no one cares about what Arkansas thinks. Because Michigan canceled a game against Arkansas, and Ohio State just canceled the game against Washington. Did you see that?
No.
So people are being skeptics right now. They think that Ohio State canceled their game against Washington because they think in 2029 Washington's going to be in the Big Ten. Because why else would they cancel a home game for no reason or whatever? It's a conspiracy theory. Right? But I think they canceled it because they don't want 2 trips out west, right? If they don't have them. You're most likely going to have, if they do the split, one rival 7 games a year, I guarantee that you're only traveling west every other year or whatever. Every 3rd year. Or 1, 2. So years 1 and year 3. Because you would get USC at home, UCLA the next year, and then you would rotate. I guarantee Michigan and Ohio State get that schedule. Put $100 on it, Matt. They're not flying out to California each year. It's like whenever they were like, hey, you're playing a game on Friday, and Michigan said nope, and Ohio State said, well, if they're not, we're not either. And then everyone else is like, we will, though. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for scheduling that Friday game. That's what it'll be like, hey, you're going to play USC and UCLA. They're going to say, nope, not the same year. Not both away. Are you kidding me? So that's what I think it probably was. Although it would be funny if the Big Ten added Washington, because I keep telling you, if the Big Ten gets the rest of the country, it has to hurt the SEC. It has to hurt them. You can't grow with nobodies, right? They're not going to be able to grow their revenue and be the best. You can keep winning conferences, but people are eventually going to stop watching. And when people stop watching because their viewership sucks, recruits are going to go elsewhere. And then it will be turning back the tide to 1 super conference instead of 2. That's my prediction. Randomly, as you talked about Brian Ferentz, I brought that in. Anything else you have on the XFL, though?
No, the only thing that I really think is going to help with these spring leagues, and I'm just going to lump both of them together, is I feel like they have to go this route of consistency. And it can't just be that you completely throw all these players into a hat, and then you fold, and then you juggle people around. Like, people recognize, like, there is a certain value in the NFL where, for the most part, the main people are in the same place and they have the contracts and the consistency of knowing who's going to be on the team from year to year. So you have that base of who's going to be where. But like when there's a constant shuffling of who's going to be there and where are you playing your games at and what you're trying to do to maximize your exposure, it's a frustrating thing to look like you're trying to organize it on the fly.
Are they playing them in each city? Or are they playing them in one arena again? Wasn't that the USFL that did that?
The USFL is kind of following a type of pod. Like, they're all reasonably within the same time zone, I believe.
Yeah, because I'm looking up the games for next week. So it's in Seattle, Lumen Field, Cashman Field in LA, Camping World, Orlando, and TDECU in Houston.
But I think with they're not going with the bigger stadium venues because like even the DC stadium, like it looked like there was more of a crowd there.
Well, that's what I'm looking to see. That's a Citrus Bowl? Is the Camping World Stadium? Is that where UCF plays? No, right? What is this stadium for? Just random things?
Is it soccer?
It looks like it was created for professional football teams in the 60s, the Orlando Panthers. And it's just kind of there. UCF played there in the 70s until they got their own stadium. So now it's just the Citrus Bowl. And the XFL Guardians.
They probably just used the Citrus Bowl for bowl games.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. They've had other teams in here. And actually, it's also used for the Cheez-It Bowl, which I didn't know. So those are the three teams that are using it. Cheez-It Bowl, Citrus Bowl, and the XFL. Or I guess not teams, but leagues or whatever. Strange. Let's go ahead and get into the USFL draft. I know you're fired up about this one, so you can go ahead.
So, it was President's Day weekend. A lot of people had free time on their hands. You're an upstart league, spring league, and you're trying to gain more exposure. You spend $1 gazillion on the Super Bowl to showcase that your league is starting in the spring. When would be a great time to maximize your exposure for your player draft? I don't know. Would you say 1 o'clock on a random friggin' Tuesday? Like the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Matt, but you just said it's following President's Day. So now I'll know. Every Tuesday following President's Day should be USFL draft.
Like, even the NFL does it on a Thursday night and jam-packs as much random stuff into it as they can. Like, do it on a Friday. Turn it into a thing where, like, you're showing the vignettes like ESPN used to do, or like ESPN does. Like, if it's this big to do, and you're getting these guys that deserve a shot at professional football, make it a big deal. Like, invest the time to showcase it. Why? Give me a reason to care.
Well, my thought is, why are they doing it now? And they're drafting guys that just finished playing, right?
Yeah.
So are those same guys also not putting their name in the NFL draft? Because if you play in the USFL, but you get drafted in the XFL, how does that work?
I don't know.
Because I would think that they would have had the draft. Like, why not capitalize on the hype of, like, college football and, like, do it the weekend in December after, like, I don't know, say like the championship weekend. So like they just picked the college football playoff teams on Sunday or whatever. Why not just have the USFL draft then and pick guys that were either not drafted in the NFL or maybe got cut from rosters and only draft from there, so you can say like, hey, my favorite player X, I was really hoping he's stuck in the league. He's not in the NFL anymore in December. Draft him. Not like drafting guys right now that could also have been drafted in the NFL. It's almost like, how did they pick him? Were they like, which loser here can we pick? Like, that's almost how it feels. And I'm not saying that the guys that got drafted by the USFL are losers. I'm just saying, like, it's almost like, how would you decide? You have to think, like, this guy wasn't good enough for the NFL. Unless they had guys put their names in, thinking that the NFL already told them they're not getting drafted. I don't know. I just feel bad for him. What about the guy that got drafted overall number 1? The guy from Michigan State? You think they did a good profile on him, Matt?
Well, I don't know, because I was at work because it was after a 4-day weekend, so I didn't have the luxury of just sitting home watching the draft.
No. The profile picture they picked of him was him getting absolutely destroyed by Michigan's Mike Morris, the defensive end. So bad that I thought Mike Morris got drafted, and I thought, wait a second, is he going to be drafted here and it's going to be like, wait and see if your NFL contract is better? But then they're like, oh no, he's actually an offensive tackle. He's the guy right there that's holding him around the neck. You can barely see him, but that's the guy. And then all the comments were like the same, like, wait, who? Like, why would you pick that photo of him? Just take the photo from the press book. Michigan State would have given it to you. Like, hey, just give us a headshot. Like, someone purposely did that, I think. Is that their way of building hype, embarrassing their players?
Well, they thought maybe it would make them work harder. Like, look at you.
It'd be like, remember when LeVar Arrington, like, jumped over the line and blocked the field goal, I think is what he did? It'd be like if they had a picture of that, but they were drafting, like, the guy he jumped over. Oh, man, right? Wasn't that a thing? Isn't there a photo of that? Like, I think he did that at Penn State, didn't he?
Yes.
I'm going to look it up. But I don't know. I feel so bad because, like, how can both spring leagues be so out of touch to, like, not hype up their team? I feel like they could do, like, if Barstool Sports can get a bunch of interns to, like, have a crazy popular social media campaign, how couldn't the XFL put together a bunch of interns to do the same thing? Right?
Yeah.
I'm looking over. Well, here's one. He jumps over at Illinois to stuff a line play. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But it would be like if they show him jumping over the line to tackle the running back, but they're drafting the running back. He's like getting absolutely just demolished. They're like, hey, here's a great photo of him in action, even though he's getting smoked. He did jump over and block a field goal against Purdue, it looks like. That's crazy. I don't get it. I don't understand why you wouldn't want your best players to be like hyped. You're an overall number 1. Could you imagine, like, if the NFL, they spend months hyping their number 1 pick, right? Everyone knows who it's going to be. If you get the feeling in early, you can put the money down and even bet on it, right? Hedge your bet if it gets closer. But,
and speaking of betting, they did make a point with the XFL to really talk about the point spreads and the gambling aspect of a lot of the games that I thought, that's almost like, are you tampering with your own league?
That's what I feel like with the NFL having all those other things on. Like when I talk about that guy holding the Eagles guy, or the Eagles guy getting called for holding at the end of the Chiefs Super Bowl. It's like you have how many ads about football, fantasy football, and like all kind of stuff with DraftKings and stuff. How do we know that didn't impact that game? Right? We don't know. Like, there's a really thin line there that, like, because I talked about, like, all the fake news coming out. Well, they say it's fake news. We don't know. About, like, Patrick Mahomes taking the steroids or whatever. And then there was one about him taking male enhancement pills. Did you see that one?
No.
You can get the same male enhancement pills that Patrick Mahomes took to recover in time for the Super Bowl, Matt. Go to Facebook. You can get them. I've seen the ads. So, if you're wondering how Patrick Mahomes did so well on and off the field, you can get that level of excellence at home. Unfortunately, not through Southbound Sports because we don't have a sponsorship like that. But that's something that I see, and I'm like, well, now there's like conspiracies out there about, like, I saw one not just on Mahomes being on steroids or whatever, but there was one that was about how the ref that made that holding call, how his brother won like $1 million on a bet for the Chiefs. And I'm like, did anyone even look into that? Is that a real thing? Or someone just making that up? I don't know. Do officials have their families, like, put on hold? Right? Because, like, let's say you're out drinking with your brother. He's like, yeah, I'm going to bet $1 million on the Chiefs. And then his other brother's like, yeah, I can make that happen. Right? I don't know. That's all just, I'm speculating out there. People know, like, WWE's fake. They don't care. NFL, there's another thing I saw out there. It's like, oh, the NFL's not even registered as a business. It's registered as an entertainment, just like WWE. I don't know if that's real. I didn't look that up. But, like, that's the kind of things that the NFL is going to have to face if they keep pushing this gambling aspect, right? Because you can gamble on WWE, too, even though it's fake. Right?
You can bet on just about anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can gamble on WrestleMania.
I mean, people are betting on how long the national anthem is going to take.
Too long every time.
Not long enough for freedom.
Well, they did at the game last night. NC State yells red because that's like one of their fight songs, Red and White, for like the Rockets' red glare. But they didn't have anyone singing it last night. So I was getting confused. I'm like, when's everyone going to yell red? But they were right on cue. They knew it. I was reciting it in my head the whole time, like, Jose, can you see, and like going through it all, but I still would have missed it. Dang. What's the Braves one? Home of the Braves. Yeah. That's the one that the Atlanta do right there. But
oh wow, you really are just down south. The vocabulary slipping.
Well, the one thing I had for my final bell, unless you have other do you know any USFL guys you want to give a shout out to?
No.
This is my callback to the game. So I talked about how the parking was bullshit. I'm like, after the game, they're like, well, we should stop at Bojangles. I said, that's a thing. Let's go. Let's do it. I drive on campus, Matt. Get in line. The guy comes out the back door. He says, yo, what do you want? And I'm like, hey, you taking my order out here? It's just like completely dark. What are you doing? He's like, oh, no, we're closing. I was like, at 10? What are you talking about? Yeah, in 2 minutes, bro. He's like, all I have left is chicken strips. I was like, are you kidding me? I said, do you have mac and cheese? And he's like, no. I said, so you only have chicken strips. What about biscuits? He's like, no, we have those. I was like, what about fries? Oh, no, we have those too. I'm like, so what don't you have? And he's like, just order the chicken strips menu, and that's all we have. So I just had to get a combo of that. Couldn't get the mac and cheese. I wanted a big tailgate mac and cheese to go home with. Wasn't that cold, you know? But I was like, dang, who closes on a college campus at 10 p.m.? Bojangles letting me down. First, they get rid of the bow sauce, Matt. Highly annoying, right? Who gets rid of their signature sauce? It'd be like if McDonald's like, you know what, on the Big Mac, we're not putting that weird orange sauce on anymore. We're just going to stop. You're going to have the underwhelming patty, and that's it. And Bo's like, hey, we know sometimes our chickens are dried out. And since that shortage, the chickens have been really weird shaped. But we're also going to get rid of bow sauce. and we're going to close at 10. And some of us don't even have mac and cheese, which is like their best thing other than the Supremes, right? Did you know that each Bojangles can have a different menu?
I did not. I'm not an expert of Bojangles.
One of my buddies is telling me about how his Bojangles wasn't that good compared to mine. But they didn't have the spicy Supremes. They only had home-style tenders, which I didn't even know was a thing. So he's like, yeah. I'm like, these are weird, but what did you order? I got the home-style tenders like always. I said, no, they're called Supremes. So whatever one he was at that he brought had the wrong ones. Really threw me off. And when you're driving down the highway and you're taking a road trip and you're like, I want the mac and cheese, and you pull in and they're like, we got rice instead. It makes me just want to throw. Like they should just put like a punching bag or something out in the parking lot you can just punch. A Bose bucket you could break with the bat.
Like a pinata.
Yeah, it's Bose time. And then Bose also come out like as a throwback. Because I know that's sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Someone has a bunch of Bose sauce. It's probably on Facebook Marketplace. But that's my final bell rant. Do you have anything for the end of the show?
I was questioning over the last couple weeks where all the hype was between can Mahomes catch Brady, and I saw the stat line that by age 27 where they stood with stuff. I was surprised that Brady had already had 3 to Mahomes' 2 Super Bowls, but that Mahomes had more MVPs and first team All-Pro bouts than Brady. So maybe there is something to him potentially catching him, but I think he would definitely need to turn it on if he's going to catch Brady.
Well, see, it goes by age, right? The difference is Mahomes played, the equivalent of 2 more seasons than Brady? Right? And Brady, You're forgetting the anti-hype against Brady. Every year, up until Spygate, it was Brady's lucky. It's all Belichick, right? Belichick's the best. Brady's a system QB. He sucks. They're barely going to win. I think, did he win the first 3 Super Bowls he was in? Because, Mahomes could have had 3. They lost one. I don't think Brady lost one until later. I think, right? Or did they lose the helmet one?
Yeah, the Manning one.
Well, they lost to Manning twice, didn't he? I can't remember which loss came first, though. I think it was the helmet catch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the one where they had Manningham. He made the sideline catch. Michigan great Mario Manningham, right? And then the helmet catch came right after, I think. Or before, maybe. And then, so completely overshadowed Manningham being awesome. But then the second one was wasn't it the sacks by Strahan? He sacked him so many times they put him on the Today Show right after.
You're done. You just go straight to TV.
They're like, you took out Tom Brady. How's it feel? You come on the Today Show and don't leave. I don't even know if he was on the Today Show. He could have been on The View or something. I don't know what they are. But he's on TV, right? I just saw him interview someone. And then they're like, I'm surprised Strahan asked that question. I'm like, maybe he just doesn't care anymore. He's going to be off filter all the time. I don't watch his TV show to know what he talks about. But, because wasn't he with the millionaire lady who wants to be a millionaire? Kelly Ripa? Wasn't she with the other guy from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Isn't that who Strahan replaced?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I know my stuff, Matt. I might not keep them.
Because you started looking at left side Twitter.
Well, no. At the game last night, I was like, all right, let's play some beats, They played one Metallica, it might have been Entertainment or something, and a bunch of other new songs that the kids from the student section had songs and dances to. And I mean, obviously it's probably from the football stadium, right? Like the routine. But I'm like, I don't even know any of these songs. A lot of the ones what's the Penn State 1-7 R&B Nation or something like that. And then Sandstorm from USC, East, South Carolina, not Lincoln Riley's USC. But I know some of the tunes. Normally, I'm like, yeah, this song's familiar. I knew like none of the stuff they were dancing to. I was like, come on, guys, give it the times. Get some better music. Don't be stealing Enter Sandman. That's Virginia Tech's thing. But I don't know. I'm just out of touch, I guess.
There you go.
Strahan, he can invite me on. They can fill me in on his show. But that's all I have. Do you have anything else? I know our show will probably be like about an hour.
No, that's all I got. I appreciate the views, the listens, the downloads. Keep it up. We appreciate you listening to our ramblings.
Yeah, thanks. Go to Southbound Sports. Check it out if you want to support the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube. I got to start putting the videos back up. I just got to get back on my regular schedule. So that'll be coming soon. And if you have any other ideas, maybe we'll do some crossover shows with some USFL and XFL shows. We'll see what we can get going. But thanks as always, and we'll see you next week.